Hi guys, I'm Karen Rice and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to paint some simple pink cosmos flowers. One of my most favourite flowers. I love painting them because they're lovely and simple stems and leaves, etc. I'm just going to use three colours: permanent rose, ultramarine and lemon yellow. So it keeps everything quite simple. So if you're new to watercolour, it's a good way of starting. But also, if you've been painting a while, it's a nice challenge to try and get lots of different colours. What I'd like to show you in this painting is a step-by-step process where you're working wet into wet, damp into wet, damp into damp, and then wet on dry. And it's the process that I use when I'm building up a painting. And a lot of you have asked me questions about this process, so I thought I'd go into a little bit more detail with this video. So if you've got any comments about anything I'm doing, the colours and techniques, please put them in the comments section below, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Anyway, shall we get started? Here's my reference photo from pexels.com, and a link for this will be in the description below. Here are the materials I'm going to be using. I've got my palette, my brushes. Normally have a larger brush, a larger round size 8, and a smaller brush, a size 4 pointed sable, an HB pencil, and 3 tubes of colour. 2 of them are Winsor & Newton, one's Daler Rowney, but I've got a lemon yellow, an ultramarine and a permanent rose. I've got my Winsor & Newton artist watercolour paper with a framing tape around the edge, and also the water pot, which is just out of shot there, and some kitchen towel. So I've pre-drawn the picture. I'm working quite large, 9 by 11 inches, and I am wetting each petal with a little puddle of water, as you can see here, and then I'm dropping the paint in wet in wet. So I'm just using a dilute wash of permanent rose and just pushing the paint around a little bit there. Now I'm using the same colour but thicker and creamier, and this is called damp into wet. So I've just put that, it makes a darker colour, and I'm just tilted it there. Now I'm using the end of my paintbrush to draw out that creamier paint to create the illusion of veins on those petals. So I'm just going to continue now doing the same sort of technique, sort of wetting each petal. As you can see, wetting it like this, the paint sort of runs from one petal to the other, and it's quite nice. It creates a lovely soft, out of focus sort of effect. And I'm now still putting that, look at that, creamy paint. So that's damp into damp, so the surface is actually damp and the paint is damp also. This is such fun to do as well. I really like this because you don't have to get a thin brush out to this. You can just do this all with the end of your paintbrush. So I'm just using a little bit of the lemon yellow now, mixed with a touch of pink, and just painting that flower centre wet on dry. So I'll continue on painting these petals, just work my way around, creating all these lovely soft edges. I felt this was a bit too dark, so I've just added some water to it and then lift off with my tissue just to get the light back, just so it kind of looks similar to the other petals. I just went a little bit over the top. So I'm going to paint in the stems now using the lemon yellow with a touch of ultramarine for a light limey green. I'm just adding a little bit more blue now, making the paint slightly creamier. I'm using my pointed sable as well. I'm just painting the dark on the left hand side of this stem, wet in wet. So the colours bleed in together and they make almost like a mid-green as well. So I'm going to continuing on now painting my petals. It's a really exciting technique, dropping paint in, wet in wet, damp into damp, because you're never sure what you're going to get. And you can see you get lovely dark areas, soft edges and backgrounds. So you get all these lovely, delicious, wonderful effects. And it's the important thing with watercolour is just let it be. Don't overwork your painting and just sort of enjoy the process. It's such a beautiful medium. Now I'm working wet on dry now. I'm painting in some of these veins and creases in the petals just to give it a little bit of detail. I'm using my pointed sable brush. You could even use a little rigger if you wanted to for this. And I'm just using the permanent rose still. I'm not using any other colour except permanent rose so far for the petals. And you can really see now how the painting is starting to build up. Now I've just added a tiny bit of blue to the pink, and just to make a tiny bit more of a shading just to the left there. I'm putting some more detail now towards the centre of this main flower, just wet on dry, and I've added a touch of blue and a tiny touch of yellow actually, just to make some of this dark around the centre of the flower there using the tip of my brush. So I'm just painting in some of the darks here as well, and that's ultramarine, touch of pink, touch of yellow to make brown, and just to give this texture and detail, all wet on dry. And it really does bring the flower to life, just giving up these lovely textures and things. I'm just adding a little bit more detail now to the leaves, detail and darks, you know, just to sort of not do too many building up mid-tones, because a lot of the times when we do that in watercolour painting, we tend to lose our light. So by being a bit more daring with darker tones, we can sort of save the light if that makes any sense. This is a very watery, wet on dry wash I'm putting on for detail. So as you can see the pink there in the bottom of the palette, it's pink with a tiny touch of blue, just to make it a slightly darker pink. You don't want to be careful that you don't end up with violet. I'm using this same colour, wet on dry, for the centre of this flower here to show some shading. And it's also creates the shape of the top of that petal. You can go in and out to create those shapes, so it's quite a nice thing. And then I'm softening with a bit of clean water at the top of that, just to, you know, make the shading go from dark to light. I have had to speed up some of the filming just so I could fit everything into the video. So I'm heading towards, as I call it, the business end of the painting. I'm starting to really put my darks on now, because I always feel if I'm painting for too long, I'm going to lose the light. So I just want to put little edgy bits of detail just here and there on the sort of sides of those stems, on some of the leaves, in the centre of the flower, just where you can see those darks and details. I'm just putting in some final kind of darks on some of these petals. I'm using the pink with a touch of ultramarine. It's amazing how many colours you can get out of just using these three primary colours. Such a good exercise to do when you're learning watercolour, just to use three colours, so you just keep everything simple. I've mixed up all three colours here to make this lovely delicious dark brown for a final little spatter. So I think I'll leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I liked painting it. It was quite easy because I was just using three colours, and a lot of the times I was just using the pink. Thank you so much for watching again. Take care of yourselves. Happy painting, and bye for now. And I forgot to say, if you'd like to see any more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Happy painting!